Hello, YouTube. Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting in a Fan. Yes, I have the lighting, and yes, I have the fan. You've never seen it, but you know it's there. Anyway, so the time is approximately 10... What time is it now? I'm going to say... Oh, it's 10:58 p.m., which does not numerologically reduce to 13. I had a second, but that was gone. So it is 10:58 p.m. Eastern Time, and the date is Monday, April 20th, 2020. The moon is waning in Aries, and the sun is transiting in Taurus. This is a video that's part of an ongoing series of my YouTube videos, and in my not at all humble opinion, it is one of my personal favorite series of videos on my YouTube channel, and that is the Llewellyn's Tarot Calendar series. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on the May 2020 edition of Llewellyn's 2020 Tarot Calendar. And I am very happy. In fact, I have two surprises for you at the end of this video regarding this video. So, okay. So I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do another close-up. And I want to tell you, this has to be one of the most gorgeous and evocative High Priestess cards I have ever seen in any tarot deck. This is called, this is the High Priestess card from the Arcanum Tarot, not to be confused with the Arcus Arcanum Tarot, which is published by Ogmiller. This, of course, is published by Llewellyn. So I'm going to read what the Barbara Moore wrote about the High Priestess card, what she wrote about one of the symbols in this tarot card, in this tarot deck. I'm gonna read what she wrote about tarot and dream work, and I'm also gonna read about I'm gonna read her blurb, the human experience in the cards, and I'm also going to share some of my own insights. Let me begin by saying that for me personally, I've always found the High Priestess card to be a reflection of my soul's energy. And I think that for a lot of people who read cards, that's kind of like the same thing. I know that for me personally, the High Priestess is not just the High Priestess card. For me, she is an emanation, or an avatar, if you will, of the goddess more commonly known as Isis, or to whom I refer to as my great goddess, or Set, as she divinely directed me to begin referring to her several years ago, long before this whole ISIS terrorist group nonsense and all that other stuff. Anyway, so for me, my connection with the High Priestess card is such that I truly believe that I could conduct an accurate, effective, and insightful, intuitive reading using just the High Priestess card. And I think one of these days I need to do that. Like, just enlist somebody that I hardly know as a guinea pig and say, hey, I want to do this with you. What do you think? So let me begin with, I just, you know, and it's so funny because I don't think I remembered much about the Arcanum Tarot. Even now, it's like I'm drawing kind of like a blank, but I will tell you that when I first saw this High Priestess card, the Arcanum Tarot became a very significant blip on my inner radar. So, the High Priestess represents our connection with something special, our idea of the divine, higher self, or intuition. When the High Priestess comes up in a reading, she often means you already know the answer. Now, I've often had this inner dialogue, this inner divine dialogue about the cards that one would expect to come out, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. You know, especially from a Western astrology perspective. Like, my sun sign is Capricorn, and in the major arcana of the tarot, the Devil card, trumped 15, corresponds to my sun sign Capricorn, or rather to the sun sign Capricorn. When I have a reading with tarot, I almost never see the Devil card. And yet, there are clients to whom I've given readings where when I'm using tarot, if their sun sign is Aquarius, the Star card comes out. If their sun sign is Leo, the Strength card comes out. If their sun sign is Aries, the Emperor card comes out. So it's like this, like, it's it's unpredictable in that regard. The times when I would expect the major arcana card that corresponds to the client's sun sign to come out in a reading almost never does. When I least expect it, it almost always does. Go figure. The other thing that I find about the High Priestess is that the High Priestess, generally speaking, in the tarot, these are just my insights, she doesn't talk that much. She's not like, let's say, the Empress, or the Woman in the Lover's card, or even the Queen of Swords. These are cards that depict powerful feminine figures that talk a lot, or that I would associate with being very active, very communicative, very physical. The High Priestess is like, I'll talk when I'm ready. And, by the way, the High Priestess is not ready to talk until you're ready to listen. She's not going to open her mouth. She'll be like, she'll just be reading her book, meditating, or talking to her goddess. And then she'll be like, oh, this bitch is ready to listen. Okay, I'm ready to talk now. Here we go. It's so funny. In a previous Instagram post, I shared, I posted a photograph of myself in my new chair. And my new chair is primarily blue and silver. And it didn't occur to me until just now the connections between my new chair, the High Priestess card, and of course blue and silver being the sacred colors of the goddess, more commonly known as Isis. And of course, as most of you know, ever since I began leading a monthly goddess circle, I find that lunar colors are more prominent in my life and in my world. There is a lot more blue in my life. My gorgeous Charles tote, well, Levenger calls it the Charlotte tote, but I call it the Charles tote, is a rich navy blue with silver hardware. The shirt that I wore in the video that my awesome audiovisual person and I recorded a little while ago was primarily blue and white and silver. This shirt is primarily blue and white. It's just amazing to me. And here I am wearing a pendulum of a crystal that never drew me before, namely Aqua Aura. And it's like, here it is. And it's silver tone at the top. And then, of course, the sterling silver chain, of 40 inches of no less, which never even knew that there were chains that could be so long. So there is this really strong connection to the High Priestess, the moon, the great goddess, intuition, etc. Okay. The symbol she's holding is the key, and I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of the inset of the key at the top. I love the heart design at the top of the key and at the bottom of the key where one would insert the key into the lock. I love those two hearts. And for me, they're symbolic of the heart chakra and the physical heart. Like that interconnection, that interrelationship between heart chakra and physical heart. So, the High Priestess holds the key to wisdom, represented by the book. And no coincidence, the bottom of the key is right on top of the inner spine of the book, like in that fold between pages, which has two hearts, indicating that the act of self-reflection is the key to connecting your human heart with your divine heart. So I'm going to take care of an itch on my nose. Lotion-infused tissue is the way to go, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube land. Oh. Okay. The High Priestess holds the key to wisdom, represented by the book, which has two hearts, indicating that the act of self-reflection is the key to connecting your human heart with your divine heart. By the way, I did not know that's what it read until a few moments ago. So that echoes what I said a few moments ago, that this is about the interrelationship between the physical heart and the heart chakra. The human experience in the cards. The first three cards in the major arcana tell the story of what it means to be human. The Fool is the pure spiritual self that incarnates in physical form in this world. And it's interesting to note that earlier today, my awesome audiovisual person and I went to a liquor store in my area, and I found a bottle of Prophecy wine with the Fool on the label. I almost purchased it, but I wanted to purchase another wine for this Tuesday night's Dark Moon, and it's called Moonlight. I gotta post these wines on my Instagram account because I do love wine. And remember, it is always wine o'clock somewhere. And I am so sorry about that noise. I almost forgot to tell my awesome audiovisual person to silence his phone. So I apologize to you, my awesome audiovisual person, for not telling you to do that earlier. So I appreciate you doing that now. You did do it now, right? You sure? Okay, just check. You know. Listen, I'm not going to assume that just because he's my awesome audiovisual person for my YouTube videos and my amazing computer tech person for my electronics, that he knows everything about every device on the planet. Even his own. Okay, so I'm going to start reading this again. The human experience in the cards. The first 3 cards in the major arcana tell the story of what it means to be human. The Fool is the pure spiritual self that incarnates in physical form in this world. The Magician is our sense of self, our individualism. As the Magician, we explore the world and our own power as creative beings. The Magician focuses on our separateness, our uniqueness. The High Priestess represents that part of ourselves that remembers being one with all that is, being connected directly to the divine and to the great heart that unites us all. This is the part of us that yearns for union, for spiritual ecstasy, for something more. It is this tension between becoming a unique individual and the desire for connection that characterizes our human experience. It may also be why we see the whole world in binary. Now, I must tell you, when I read this earlier, when I read this part earlier, I was skimming through it, I'll admit that. But for me, intuitively and instinctively, I feel the opposite. I feel that the Magician card is more about connecting to others. I mean, it's not a coincidence that in virtually every tarot deck, the Magician card is holding a wand in each hand. As above, so below. As within, so without. And when people reach out their hands, they're reaching out to connect to others. So I feel that, and of course, you know, there is such a thing as a relay race, where relay race runners are holding a baton in their hands, and they're relaying it to the next runner. So for me, looking at the Magician card, I feel like he is about connection. He is the one that symbolizes we are all one. And the Magician is reaching out to others, saying, let us be one with each other. Let us be one with all. Whereas for me, again, intuitively and instinctively, the High Priestess is about separateness. Because if you look at her, she's by herself. She's in her own space, her own physical space. She's in her own energetic, or if you will, magical space, and she's veiled. You know, I remember there was something that, there was a compliment that Marianne, I keep saying Marianne, Anne Marie, who is the right-hand goddess of Cheryl, the woman who owns, or the living goddess who owns notions and potions, had said to me, she said to me, you know, I love the fact that you always open the curtain after the reading ends. Because you're letting the customers know you're available. And for me, it's instinctual. You know, I do it because the reading has concluded. I don't want the High Priestess to fall. The reading is done. The reading is ended. And, you know, I'm also clearing the space of that energy. Not to say that that client is bad and icky, but I don't want that energy lingering in the reading space, in the reading corner, because if that energy lingers, then what's going to happen is that energy is going to permeate the next client's reading. And then I'll be reading that person that already had their reading, and I'll be reading that client in the current reading. So I open the curtain as a way of clearing the space. And I didn't even realize until now that that's one of the ways that I clear the space. In fact, now more than ever, I clear the space with incense, with Florida water, with the candles, and it really works for me. It really works energetically for me to do that. So for me, again, intuitively and instinctively, I look at the High Priestess as separate from all. I look at the High Priestess as I'm separate from you. She's not saying that she's better, but she vibrates at a different frequency. And ideally, oh, hold on. New pair of socks, and I think one of the plastic thingies is I didn't get all of it. I'm okay. No pain, no worries. So I feel like, the High Priestess vibrates at a different frequency. Just like not every woman in a magical coven is the official soul High Priestess, or for that matter, in any magical group, whether it's a grove, a coven, any other term for a magical group that gathers, or circle. That's the other term, of course, like the moon. It's a circle, big round thing. So it's like, not everybody is a High Priestess. Not everybody is going to be a High Priest. Not everybody wants to be a High Priestess. I remember not too long ago, I began working with two people, two men who happened to be gay, and I remember saying to the two of them, I said, listen, I'm not going to always be the designated High Priest. I don't want to lead the ritual all the time, and I shouldn't have to. And I don't have a problem. Well, actually, no, I did have a problem doing it, because even though I have the most experience of those two individuals in me, I didn't want to always lead the ritual. I didn't want to always lead the ritual, and I felt that it would have been a disservice for all three of us, which is why, all three of us we take turns, or we would take turns and all that other stuff. Anyway, so all that being said, I really feel like the High Priestess card is about separateness. It's about needing to separate from others, needing to have that sacred solitude, that inner divine dialogue. The tip is about tarot and dream work, which I find so perfect because the Priestess of Grove Argentum, which is the Manhattan, New York City-based chapter of the International Fellowship of the Goddess Isis, has been working with dream work for years and years and years. In fact, dream work was her first foray into magic and witchcraft. And I think virtually every time that I have been in that priestess's presence, especially during a Grove Argentum rite or working, she's always talked about dream work. And it is through those conversations that I have a greater appreciation for dream work. So, the High Priestess symbolizes our connection to our subconscious and all the ways we connect with it, such as divination and dreaming. Use your tarot cards to help interpret dreams, especially if you feel the dream is important but can't make sense of it. Break the dream down into parts or scenes and also note any items that might symbolize something else. Once you've listed out the parts and items, make them into a spread, one position for each thing. Shuffle and pull a card for each position and interpret. Now, there are books that one can read about tarot and dream work. Hold on. Is everything okay? You sure? Okay. So, but what I'm going to say is that let's say you do not have an extensive history of remembering your dreams. By the way, neither do I. And I do not use dream work or work with dream work as often as possible. And one would think that as a witch, it would be an automatic thing. It would be like a nightly thing. But the reality is that I do not do enough dream work. But I have a greater appreciation of it, number one. And number two, I do use it more often. So one of the things that I would recommend you do, for those of you who want to begin developing a working dream work relationship with your unconscious mind, would be before you go to sleep, in your mind say at least twice in a row, I now remember my dreams. And, very important, keep a pad and a pen and paper by your bedside. Now, some of you might prefer to have your phones by your bedsides. The blue light will and the wireless waves will interfere with your dreaming. Now, if you have a concern about medication, yes, some medication will interfere with your dream patterns and your dream waves. Not all. Some do. Most do. Not all. And if you do need to take medication for medical reasons, for medically valid reasons, then you might need to work a little bit harder or a little bit more rigorously to remember your dreams in spite of those medically necessary medications. Now, I want to make sure I covered everything. I did cover everything. Things are falling again. But I'm not going to exercise right now. I'll exercise after the video is done. So I said I'm going to exercise after the video is done. Okay? Please. They're waiting. So I have two surprises for you. One I'm going to show you now, and one I'm going to show you in the next video. So, as I've mentioned in previous videos, although most of you probably do know this already, generally speaking, Llewellyn publishes their annuals in July or August of the current year. So all the 2021 annuals will be published between July and August of 2020. And the other day I was visiting Llewellyn's website and I found this. And of course I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of this. Notice at the top it reads Llewellyn's 2021 Tarot Calendar. I cannot tell you how happy this made me. By the way, I don't remember how to reset my printer so that it prints bright and bold. But make no mistake, on the website it is bright and bold and even more beautiful than this. I know the first card is from Tarot in Wonderland by Barbara Moore, illustrated by Eugene Smith, and of course the Enchanted Empress is from the writer Waite Smith. I don't remember what the other two are, but I'll find out eventually. So I was just so thrilled to see this. Now, as I mentioned in a few of my previous videos regarding this calendar, it was actually 15 years ago. It was 15 years ago, in 2005, or rather, technically 2004, that Llewellyn Publishing introduced their very first tarot-themed annual, Llewellyn's Tarot Reader. There were 4 of those. So far, we have had 3 published Llewellyn's Tarot Calendars, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 is already in the works. By the way, you can pre-order this, and you know I'm going to pre-order this the first chance I get. And I will tell you that, and I meant what I said, what I've said in previous videos, if Llewellyn Publications publishes 5 of these, and then they stop, I'll be okay with it. I would love for them to continue. I would love that. I would love to see 10 years, a decade's worth of Llewellyn published tarot-themed annuals. I would love, 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 love that. But if it's only 5, go with my blessing. Absolutely. I'm totally okay with it. I will not sign a petition. I won't do a GoFundMe page. I will not boycott Llewellyn until I won't do any of that. No, 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 no. I will just be I'll be at peace. I will be at peace because I got what I wanted and what I needed. Because really, I don't need to have, do I need to have 20 years worth of these? No. Would I love that? Oh, you betcha bippy, I would love that. Bang, 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 love that. Couldn't think of the word, so bang came out. But you betcha bippy, I would love that. But if there is at the very least, a Llewellyn's 2022 tarot calendar, and that's it, I'm okay with it. So, I am now going to invite all of you to pre-order Llewellyn's 2021 tarot calendar the first chance you get. Which means that you'll receive it once it's published, which means that you'll receive it by no later than August of this year. Because again, most of their annuals are published either in July or August. Some, but not all that many, are published in June. But usually it's July or August of the current year for the following year. So, like Llewellyn's 2020 tarot calendar was published between July and August of last year, 2019, and I believe it was actually August of 2019 when this was published. So now that's one surprise. The other surprise I'm going to show you in the next video, which hasn't been recorded yet because there are things that I need to do to prepare for that. But I will tell you that I was divinely guided to create a spread, and I'm going to use a tarot deck for that spread, and I'm going to actually need to create a blog post to accompany that spread. But I'm very excited about it because I have not created a tarot spread in a long time. So I'm really looking forward to this tarot spread. And it is, I will tell you that it's more multi-layered than I thought it would be. So as always, YouTube, thank you so much for honoring who I am and what I do. I wish all of you many blessings of love and light, prosperity and peace. And of course, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And good night.